In our last meeting, we did the simple shell stitch pictured here. This pattern uses both the double crochet stitch and the single crochet stitch. The double crochet stitches are used on the odd rows, and the single crochet stitches are used on the even rows. It takes 5 rows to repeat this pattern, and it's done in multiples of 4 plus 1. So you can make this pattern as long as you want it to be or as short as you want it to be. Just make sure you start off with a multiple of 4 and then chain 1. If you are working the Afghan squares, you're going to want to chain 29 loosely as indicated in the pattern at the beginning. For demonstration purposes today, I'm only going to chain 20 just so that the video goes faster and you still get an idea of what it looks like. Again, you can use this pattern for any type of flat work, whether it be the Afghan square, placemats, dish towels, pot holders, rugs, whatever that is flat and square that you can think of, and you can use any of the patterns in this book. Another thing you can do, instead of doing squares, you can do long panels and then sew the panels together. It's up to you. It's your project. Be creative and do what you want to do. But I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate now how to do the simple shell stitch, which is number 26 in the 63 easy to crochet pattern stitches combined to make an heirloom Afghan book. The book number is number 555. Okay, so first let's read the pattern and then we will do the pattern. So row 1 is going to be the right side. Remember, the right side is the more attractive side considered by the author. After we chain our 29 loosely, you're going to start by doing 4 double crochets into the 6th chain from the hook. And then it has a star. Remember, anytime you see a star or a parentheses or an asterisk, that usually indicates a repeating pattern. The repeat in this row is going to be, we skip 3 chains and then we do 4 double crochets in the next chain. That means you would do 4 double crochets in the same chain. That's what makes that shell pattern. And then you repeat from star all the way across until you get to the last 3 stitches. So you'll keep doing skip 3, do 4 in the same stitch, skip 3, do 4 in the same stitch, all the way until you get to the end. You should have 3 chains at the end once you're done repeating the pattern, and once you get to 3 chains left, you're going to double crochet in the very last chain. So go ahead and do your slip knots and go ahead and do your 29 chains, or if you don't want to do 29, whatever multiple of 4 that you want to do plus 1. If you don't remember how to do the slip knot or the chains, go ahead and review the slip knot and the chain videos. Okay, I have 20, and then I'm going to do 1 more because it's a multiple of 4 plus 1. Notice that as I'm doing the chains and as I am working my double crochets into the chain and all the stitches, I always am holding my work with my thumb and one of my fingers. Notice that a couple of you are having trouble with stretching the stitches out, and it's because you're holding the string rather than your work. Make sure you continue to hold your work so that you can keep a good handle on it. This part, the working string should be loose and flowing, and you control the tension of that by closing or opening up your fingers. You can go ahead and review the how to hold your yarn and hook videos if you need more help with that. But once you have the multiple of 4 plus 1 chains ready to go, that's when you're going to start working on row 1. So again, it starts off by doing 4 double crochets in the 6th chain from the hook. Okay, so this one doesn't count because that's the one that is on the hook, so that's not a chain. This is the first one that counts, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to be going in here. And to do a double crochet, just as a review, you're going to yarn over first. Remember, the single crochets you just go straight into the chain, but the double crochet you're going to yarn over first and then insert your hook into the chain. Yarn over, pull through the chain. You will have 3 loops on your hook. This one is a little bit wide for the first one, so 1, 2, 3. Yarn over and pull through only 2. If we were doing a half double, we would pull through all 3, but since we're doing a double, you only pull through 2. You have 2 left. Yarn over, pull through 2 again, and that's my first double. It wants me to do 4 into that same stitch. So each time I'm going to be going into this same chain. Make sure you're not going into the hole. You're not going to be wrapping it around this stitch here. You're going to be doing it into that same stitch that you already did. So all 4 will be in this one same hole. So I'm going to keep my finger there so that I can keep track of it as I crochet. Yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through the chain. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through only 2. You have 2 left, yarn over, pull through those last 2. That is 2 double crochets in the same chain. We'll do another one. This is my third one. Yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through the chain. We have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through those 2. You have 2 on the hook, yarn over, pull through those last 2. That is 3 double crochets in the same chain, and I have to do 4, so I have 1 more. Yarn over, insert the hook into that same hole, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now I have 4 double crochets in the same hole, and you can double crochets are easier to count because they're taller, so they're easier to see. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can even separate them out if it helps. So I have 4 there, and this is what it looks like from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is my loop that goes on the hook. Alright, so I have now done the 4 double crochets in the 6th chain from the hook, and now I'm going to start my repeat pattern. I'm going to skip 3 chains and do 4 double crochets in the next chain. Okay, so this is the chain that I went in. So my next one would be this. That's 1, 2, 3. So I'm skipping those, and so I should be going in here. And I'm going to do 4 doubles into that one stitch just like I just did. Yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 again. Okay, and notice each time I do a double crochet, my thumb and one of my fingers is constantly holding my chains so that I can control my work. Yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so 2 double crochets. I'm going to in that same hole, yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 3 double crochets in that same chain, and then 1 more. Yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that is 4 now. 1, 2, 3, 4 into that one chain. Okay, keeping in that repeat. 1, 2, 3, I skip, and then I go into the 4th one, so that will be this one right here. Yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so that's 1, yarn over, insert into that same hole. And if it helps, stretch it out a little bit just so you can see where the hole is. Not too much that where you're going to deform the work, but so that you can see where to go. And that's 3, and then 1 more, yarn over, insert into that same chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is 4 doubles. Okay, skip 1, 2, 3, and then go into the 4th one. Remember, it helps to hold the V side up so you can tell which stitch to go into. If you have them over like this or twisted, it's hard to tell which one to go into. So if you lay it out flat so that you're looking at only the V side, it's easier to count. And you can count just the loops on the top. The reason why he has you crochet loosely is so that once you're done with the square and you start to do the edging, you actually are going to go back around and you'll be crocheting into the other side of this chain. That is a lesson for another day, but that's just to let you know. So I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go up under this loop here. Yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through. We have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay. Yarn over, going to go into that same hole. It's 2 doubles. There's my 3rd. And number 4. Okay. For me, I am at the end of my row. I have my 3 chains left, and so it said to repeat across until the last 3 chains. Once you get to the point where you only have 3 chains left, you're not going to do the repeat anymore. You're just going to do a double crochet until the last chain. And that completes row 1. Alright, and then we move on to row 2. Well, before we move on to row 2, it says to loop a short piece of yarn around any stitch to mark this row as the right side. The right side is the more attractive side. An example of a stitch marker or a piece of yarn will look like this, and so in this particular case I just took a stitch marker. You could wrap it around any stitch, it doesn't matter. Another thing you can do is just notate which side the tail is on, which is fine if you're just doing one square. If you're doing a whole bunch of squares, once you get to go to lay them out to sew them together, it'll be easier if you have your stitch marker, because sometimes the tail can be on the right, sometimes it could be on the left. And so in that case, if you're doing a bunch of different stitches and you're going to sew them together, it'll be better to use a stitch marker or a contrasting color yarn and just mark that as the right side. That way you could lay them all in the same direction before you sew them up. Okay, row 2 starts with the chain 1, turn, single crochet in each double crochet across, and single crochet on top of the beginning chain. So what that means is basically it's going to count this as a double crochet. So we worked each one of these double crochets that's in the shell, and we even worked this double crochet that's on the end, but this section right here is is only chains. In this particular pattern, it counts the chains as a double crochet, and that'll be important as we get to rows 3 and 5. You'll see why that's important. If you watched my double crochet video last time, you remember the reason why that's important is so that it is more squared off, and it also helps with the counting to know that. Alright, so we're going to chain 1 and turn. If you're following along with this specific pattern and you started with 29 chains, you should have had 26 stitches at the end of row 1. If you didn't, go back and count to make sure that you got every one of your chains. Alright, and I'm going to single crochet in each one across. Remember, with the single crochets, you do not do the yarn over first. You just insert the hook directly into the stitch. And again, the stitch from the side, it looks like this. From the top, it looks like that V. Make sure you're going under both loops. Unless the pattern calls for you to only do the front loop or the back loop, you want to make sure you're going under both loops. And always be consistent. If you had started doing only the front loop or the back loop, make sure that you continue that all the way across. That way it at least looks the same. If you have a mixture, that can make it look like it wasn't done right. Preferably you would want to stick with whatever the author wrote. So in this particular case, we're going to be going under both loops. Okay, and I'm going to turn this on the top so you can kind of see through the end. I'm going through each of the V's, and then once I get to the end, we just have the chains, which, unlike any, see, the other stitches had that V loop on the top where I can go right under it. This does not, so you just have to find like you can go under just one of the loops on the side here, or some people just go up underneath. It's up to you. I prefer to go through the chain itself somewhere. Okay, that completes row 2. Row 3, we're going to chain 3, and it says that counts as the first double crochet now and throughout the entire pattern. So that applies even to row 5. Row 5, when we start with the chain 3, that counts as a double crochet itself. Okay, so that counts as the first double crochet. We'll turn and we'll do 2 double crochets in the first single crochet. So we'll be doing that double crochet, and the 2 doubles will kind of be in the same stitch. Alright, so we'll go ahead and do the chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then turn. Okay, and so this is our first stitch here. Once we get to row 5, we'll be skipping that one, and you'll see why. But in row 3, we do the chain 3, and we do 2 doubles in the first single crochet. So yarn over, insert the hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1 double crochet. Yarn over, insert into that same hole. Not in between, not around, but into that same hole as the other one. Okay, so that counts as 3 in the same stitch, that first single crochet. Okay, here's where our pattern begins. Skip the next 3 single crochets and do 4 double crochets in the next single crochet, and we'll repeat that all the way across until there's 5 left. So you skip 3 and then you do 4 in the same stitch. Skip 3, do 4 in the same stitch. Okay. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3 that I'm skipping. I'm going to go insert my hook in here, yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 and pull through 2. It's 1 single crochet going into that same hole. If it helps, use your fingers to make it a little bit wider. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And we're going to keep doing that all the way across. And so you notice how this is row 1, this is row 3. The shells are kind of offset this time, so they're not shells stacked on top of each other. They kind of alternate so that the shell on the next odd row is almost above this space. So that'll help you visualize it better. And once we do our singles back this way, when we start up here again, it'll be the same thing. It'll be over, the shell will be over this hole. Skip 3, insert into the 4th one, and do your doubles. That's 1 double, insert into that same hole. 2, insert into that same hole again. 3, and 4. Okay. Skip 1, 2, 3, and then go into the 4th. Yarn over, insert into the 4th. Through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert into that same stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, that's 2 doubles. Yarn over, insert and hook. Okay, so I have all 4 in this same double crochet stitch. They're not wrapped around each other, they're just in the same double crochet stitch from, or technically the single crochet stitch from the previous row. And you can see it's not exactly over that gap from below, but it is almost. So it's just offset a little bit. And as we get more rows on this, you'll see how that stacks up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 stitches left, and that's where the repeat stopped. So I'm supposed to repeat across until the last 5 singles, so that's where I am. So I'm no longer repeating, I'm following the next part of the pattern. 4 double crochets in the last single crochet stitch. Okay, so this is my 5th one. That's the one I'm going to do 4 double crochets into. Okay. That completes row 3. Row 4 is very similar to row 2. You chain 1, turn, and single crochet in each double crochet across. The difference between row 4 and row 2 is that at the end you'll have 27 single crochets. So you'll notice that it alternates from being at 26 to 27 and back down to 26. So the rows will be a little bit off by 1 stitch. There will be a couple that are just slightly longer than the other rows, but that gets more squared off later as you do the edging and the blocking for the square. The edging and the blocking will both be different lessons. That's just to let you know what's coming up and why it might look off. So if it looks a little bit wavy, it should only be slightly wavy. It shouldn't be very wavy, but if it looks a little bit wavy, that's okay. That's because you have 26 stitches on 2 rows and then 27 on the others. Alright, so getting ready for, which row? Row 4. Okay, you're going to chain 1, turn, and single crochet in each one across, so that counts that first one as well. Remember to always hold your work with your thumb and your finger so that you can control it better. Practice your tension by loosening and tightening your fingers where your working yarn flows. And watch how loosely your yarn is here as well. You don't want it all the way up here or super tight. Just trying to figure out, so on this previous row this was chains, and so I need to make sure that I work that as a double crochet because that did count as a double crochet stitch. Okay, alright, now row 5 we are going to chain 3 and turn. Let's go ahead and do that. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now remember that counts as your as a double crochet stitch. Chain 3, turn. And here's where the wording can get tricky. It says skip the next 2 single crochets. Okay, so we've worked the first one technically by doing that chain 3. If it wanted us to skip, like if it wanted us to count this and to skip and just do 1, 2 and then go into the third one, it would say skip the first 2. But the fact that it says skip the next 2, that kind of gives you an idea of where you are. So this one's already worked and you're going to skip the next 2. So you're going to be going into the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's where some people mess up, because the wording can get tricky there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go ahead and single crochet, double crochet 4 into that 1 stitch. Okay, and that's also, after that's where the pattern begins. You'll skip 3 and do 4 doubles in the next, skip 3, do 4 doubles in the next stitch, and so forth, just like we've been doing with the other ones. That's 1, 1, 2, 3, and then in the 4th one, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. Here's my 4th one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip 1, 2, 3, and go into this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, you're going to do that across until the last 3 single crochets, and you're going to double crochet into the last single crochet. So I have 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do 1 double crochet in that last one. Okay, and that completes the pattern. And what you do from here to keep making it longer is you repeat rows 2 through 5. You don't go back to row 1, but you're starting at row 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, and just keep doing that over until it gets to the length that you need it. If you're doing the heirloom afghan, you want to basically make it square. So if you're doing chaining 29 loosely, it should be approximately 7 inches across. It may be a little bit different depending on your own personal gauge. But however long you have it across, that's how long you also want it to be vertically as well. Obviously this doesn't fit. I haven't continued the pattern. But even with this, with this particular one, I would need to go one more round. So I have about just shy of 7 inches on this square. I'm gonna hold it right here so I can see how far I need to go. And you can see I would need at least one more row, maybe 2, to make my square, my purple, actually square. Right now it's still a rectangle. Okay, once you get to the point where you're done with this, whether you fasten off here or start the edging depends on the color of the yarn. So if you're working multiple colors like this afghan here, there's going to only be one color that you use to sew around with. So if your main color, in this pattern the main color is ecru, which is that off-white color, and so if you had an ecru square, then you would just keep going. If you had a pink or a green square, you would first fasten off, and to fasten off you just cut a piece and then you pull through that last one and just pull it all the way through, and then for this tail end you would weave it in with a yarn needle, and then you would start the working edge. But if it's the same color, you can go ahead and start the working edge. You would do 3 single crochets into the corner, and you would basically do single crochets evenly spaced all the way across, preferably about 25 single crochets on the edge. And you want to try to do 25 on each one. That way when you go to sew the squares together, it'll be pretty easy for you to match them up and sew them together. And then when you get to the corners, you'll do 3 and 1. That's so that you have 1 here, 1 in the diagonal, and then 1 starting this way again. Do 25 single crochets across again when you get to the corner, you do 3 single crochets in the same one, 25 across again in the corner, do 3 single crochets, and then to finish it off, 25 across the top, and then you would do a slip stitch at the beginning and fasten off. And then at that point you would sew them together. There are different techniques for sewing them together. That'll be a lesson for another video. I hope you enjoyed the shell stitch. It's one of my favorites. It's very pretty. It's worked best in plain yarn, so that you can see the pattern together, all the pattern better. But you can use variegated yarn if it's not wildly colored. Like what I have going on the topper, you can see that kind of detracts from the pattern because of the color changes. It looks best when it's very soft and doesn't have that much color change. Okay, I will see you guys for the next lesson. Thank you. Have a good week.